Welcome to our channel, all friends. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon to stay update for new videos. Thanks. Let's start new. The rain was pouring down with full force. These were the last rains of winter, and the weather was severely cold, but I was tormented by an intense feeling of heat. I glanced at the clock. It was 11 at night. My husband hadn't returned from the office yet. I picked up my mobile phone to call him and ask where he was when his message popped up. Reading it, I sighed deeply. He had said that the roads were closed due to the rain and he wouldn't be returning home tonight. I threw the phone aside and sat down, holding my head. It often happened that he couldn't come home at night for one reason or another. This wasn't new. It was just the rain as an excuse this time. For a while, I just kept looking out the window at the falling rain. Then, memories of my childhood came flooding back. Whether it was winter or summer, seeing the rain always made me crazy. My heart would desire nothing more than to get drenched in the rain. No matter if my mother or father forbade it, I couldn't stop myself. But after marriage, I had stopped getting wet in the rain because I had come to a joint family, and it didn't seem appropriate to be drenched in the courtyard in front of so many people. As childhood memories were refreshed, my heart yearned. I thought that everyone must be asleep in their rooms, and a slight chill prevailed. No one would come out of their room in this rainy weather, and my husband, Furkan, wouldn't be home tonight. Why not relive my childhood memories? I looked from my room's window towards all the other rooms, and every room was dark. My in-laws were probably in a deep sleep, and my brother-in-law was also in his room. My sister-in-law had gone to her parents' house, so I wouldn't get a better opportunity than this. I quickly turned off the light in my room and came into the courtyard. It was a small, open courtyard. As soon as I stepped into the rain, my entire body started getting drenched. A sense of peace and contentment settled in my heart. For the past 4 years, I'd only watched the rain from my room's window. Today, after 4 years, I stepped into the rainwater, and my heart danced to a different tune. I spun around, took off my dupatta, and threw it aside, opening both my arms to the air. With my hair loose, I spun around like a peacock, enjoying the rain. It didn't occur to me at all that someone might be silently watching me at this hour of the night. My assumption was that everyone was in a deep sleep. I stayed drenched in the rain for a long time, and then when I got tired, I sat on the ground in the same rainwater and started splashing my hands. The splashes leaped up and wet my face, and my heart was leaping with joy. I wished Furkan also liked rain, or if he would get drenched in the rain with me, how much fun it would be. A pang of longing rose in my heart. Furkan's temperament was very different from mine. He neither laughed or spoke much, nor did he like to talk much, nor did he like my frolicking around. In the beginning of my marriage, whenever I laughed or giggled loudly, he would glare at me with sharp eyes. Slowly, I began to understand that he didn't like any of it. Once I knew his preferences, I started to change myself. I, who used to laugh heartily and live life to the fullest, had given up everything. I became quiet-natured and simple, just as Furkan preferred. Then came the first rain after my marriage, and I yearned to get drenched, but Furkan didn't allow me. He said, "It's a joint family. Everyone lives in the same house. There's no need to make a spectacle." His tone, as always, was extremely rough and harsh. My heart wept tears of blood, but I suppressed my feelings. I didn't want to do anything against my husband's wishes. And so, over the past 4 years, I buried my desires deep inside me every time. Anyone who saw me would say, "Syra, you're not like your old self at all. It's as if this is a different Syra." While my own family thought I had become serious and sensible, only I knew that I hadn't become serious or sensible. Rather, my very being had died inside me. My desires would sob and choke within me, and I would just busy myself serving the family with a faint smile on my face, because that was where my husband's happiness lay. If I served my in-laws, they would talk to me properly. Otherwise, they might not even tolerate that. Today, I finally had the opportunity to openly live out my desires, and taking advantage of the darkness, I thoroughly enjoyed the rain. When my body was drenched from head to toe, and I started trembling from the cold, I felt as if someone was standing near me. I, who was playing in the rainwater, splashing my hands, nervously looked up. My brother-in-law, Shamshir, was standing right beside me. Seeing him, my world turned upside down. I had thought he, like everyone else, would be sleeping in his room. But how did he get here? And then my appearance was extremely inappropriate. My dupatta was even lying far away in the courtyard. Shamshir looked at me and said, "You'll catch a cold, Sarah. Get out of him. Get up, stand." I felt as if someone had drained the life from my feet. In a moment of panic, I stood up from the ground, water dripping from my clothes. The faint yellow bulb of the distant courtyard shed light on my form, and Shamshir's gaze was fixed on my face. "Why are you getting drenched in such cold rain?" he asked me in an extremely sharp tone. At his words, I simply bit my lip, unable to find any reply. He then said, "Come to your room." I quickly picked up my dupatta from the other end of the courtyard and headed towards my room, with him following close behind. When I saw him entering my room behind me, my heart sank. I nervously stammered, "Shamshir, you?" But without saying anything, he closed my room door and came closer to me. A lump formed in my throat. I was terribly scared. I quickly took a step back. Furkan wasn't home. My in-laws slept after taking sleeping pills, and my sister-in-law was at her parents' house. For my brother-in-law to come into my room at such a late hour was enough to scare me to death. I quickly stepped back, angrily saying, "Shamshir, go to your room. Furkan will be home any minute." Hearing me, a faint smile appeared on his face. He said, "Furkan won't come, I know. He'll only return in the morning. Are you trying to fool me or yourself?" Hearing Shamshir's words, I averted my gaze, feeling embarrassed that my lie had been caught. This meant he knew very well that Furkan wasn't coming home. But still, his coming into the room like this was inappropriate. But before I could ask anything or tell him to leave in a firm tone, he came closer. He made me sit on the bed and sat down beside me, saying, "Sarah, I've wanted to tell you something for a long time, but I never got the chance. I thought I should talk today, especially when I saw you getting drenched in the rain like this. I realized I shouldn't waste any more time. I know you've been very worried about not having children for the past 4 years, and your heart yearns for a child. I understand this yearning of yours very well. I also want your incomplete life to be complete, but this is only possible in one way." Saying this, he smiled faintly. My arm was still in his grip, and he was sitting very close to me. His smile seemed very mysterious to me. My heart was pounding badly. It felt like something bad was about to happen. And then, very slowly, instead of saying something, he made a move in front of me that completely stunned me. It was beyond my wildest imagination that at this hour of the night, he would reveal such a truth to me. For many moments, I just kept looking at him in disbelief. Then Shamshir looked at me with questioning eyes and asked, "Do you truly want to have a child? If so, then you'll have to agree to what I say." I was just listening to him, but with a lifeless, motionless body. And then, when he pulled me into his embrace, I realized what had happened to me. Because that night, Shamshir, to fulfill my incomplete desire, had betrayed his own brother and crossed every limit in front of me. My name is Syra. I opened my eyes in a middle-class family. I received my education from a government school, and when I reached college, like every middle-class family, my parents started worrying about my marriage. My mother and father began looking for suitable matches, but they couldn't find a proper, equal match. This continued for some time, so much so that my parents became worried. They felt that this was the right age for me and that I should get married now. However, I was an extremely enthusiastic, playful, and talkative girl. I spent all my time frolicking around and would tell my parents that I didn't want to get married yet. But for some reason, I started to feel like a burden to my father, especially since I turned 18. The campaign to find me a match intensified, and then an acquaintance of my father's suggested Furkan's proposal. Furkan lived with his family in a joint family. He had a very good job, his father had a business, and his elder brother and sister-in-law lived with them. Everything about their home and family seemed perfectly suitable. My mother and father felt it was a perfect match and that they should marry me off now, but I created a commotion, insisting that I didn't want to get married yet. My mother handed me the boy's picture and said, "What's the harm in just looking once? Then you can refuse if you want." I knew very well that my refusal after seeing the picture would hold no weight. It was merely a formality. But at my mother's insistence, I looked at the picture and couldn't stop looking. He was an extremely handsome boy of 27 or 28, looking like a masterpiece of masculine charm. For some reason, seeing Furkan in that picture, my heart pounded so much that I couldn't refuse. Instead, I told my mother myself, okay, you can call them. And so, Furkan's mother and his elder sister-in-law came to see me. Their demeanor, their way of conversing, and their manners indicated that they were a very respectable family. My parents found everything perfectly fine in every way, and since I also didn't refuse, my engagement was finalized. Then, 6 months later, the wedding date was set. Like every girl, I had great desires to see my fiancé face to face once before the wedding, to talk to him. But my mother didn't allow me to. I couldn't see my fiancé, nor did we have any meeting. Despite this modern era, I neither had a mobile phone, nor was I allowed to talk to Furkan on the phone. And 6 months passed by only in thoughts and imaginations. In my mind, I had created a very beautiful image of Furkan, a loving, empathetic man. Because I always thought that men who live in joint families are very empathetic. And so I got married. But on my wedding night, I discovered that everything I had imagined so far was completely the opposite of reality. Furkan was not at all like the man I had created in my world of imagination. When Furkan entered the room, the very first thing he told me was that he didn't like too much noise. He didn't want interference in every matter. He preferred a peaceful life where no one meddled in his affairs, asked him questions, or made noise in his presence. Perhaps he knew that I was very enthusiastic and playful, which is why, as soon as he entered the room, he immediately bound me to seal my lips in his presence. I bowed my head and, like an obedient wife, promised to obey his command, even though it was incredibly difficult for me. Furkan didn't say any loving words, nor did he make any vows about the future. He simply connected with me as if it were a duty, and that's how our relationship began. I had thought that I would change him with my love in just a few days. I truly believed that with all the life within me, I could change anyone. But as time passed, I realized this was my naive fantasy. I couldn't change Furkan. Instead, I had completely changed myself. I neither talked much, nor laughed or spoke. I just did the household chores and served my in-laws. My sister-in-law, Shireen, often used to look at me and say, "You've completely changed. When we came to see you, you were not at all like this." I would smile softly and say, "Your brother-in-law likes me this way." Sometimes Shamshir would also observe me with deep gazes and then ask, "Are you happy?" And at his question, I would tremble from head to toe. I had never told anyone this, but the truth was that I was not happy inside. I had killed my true self and was living a false life. I had enclosed my desires in a shell and completely changed my identity, just so that my husband would be happy with me. But despite that, I had never seen Furkan truly happy. There was a strange distance between us that, even after many months, showed no signs of disappearing. Then I tried to comfort myself by saying that some men are just like that. They neither like to talk much nor express their emotions. Another year passed like this. My in-laws started wishing for children from Furkan and me. In hushed tones, my mother-in-law asked me several times, "Daughter-in-law, when will you give us good news?" But I would listen to her and remain silent. Then, after another 6 months, I spoke to Furkan and said, "I want us to have children too, but I don't know why. Even after so long, we are childless." Hearing me, Furkan looked at me strangely and said, "When it's in our destiny, we'll have them. One shouldn't chase after anything." His tone was so ordinary and superficial that I was surprised. I had thought that upon hearing me, he would say, "Yes, it has been a long time and we haven't had children." But his demeanor indicated that he was in no hurry. Then I thought a lot, and it struck me that in the past year and a half, Furkan had never expressed a desire for children, nor had he talked about them. My brother-in-law had 2 children who were very attached to Furkan. He was very happy with their children. But despite that, he had never mentioned having his own children. Once, in play, my brother-in-law's elder son even asked Furkan, "Uncle, when will your baby come?" Furkan, for the first time, scolded him severely, and then Shireen took him into the room. After that day, I noticed a lot of change in my husband's behavior. He neither talked to me nor came close to me. If I tried to talk, he would react very badly. One day when I couldn't bear it anymore and asked what the matter was, My husband said something that made the ground slip from under my feet. He said, "You are the one who has created this fuss about a child in the house. And what's more, you've taught such things to the children of the house that they question me. I know very well that all this is happening because of you. You're the one who has taught this new lesson to mother and father too, aren't you?" He was asking me with intense hatred, and I was looking at him, stunned. I had never said such a thing in front of anyone. So much time had passed since our marriage, which was why everyone had started asking about our child. But Furkan had put everything on me. I quickly tried to deny it and explain that I hadn't said anything to anyone, but he wasn't ready to listen to me at all. After that, even more coldness settled between us. He often started coming home late from the office at night, and sometimes he would stay at the office, citing too much work. I had become completely silent. By now, everyone in my maternal home also started asking about children, and for this reason, I even got a checkup from the doctor. I went to the hospital with my mother-in-law, but the doctor said there was no problem, just to take care of my health and be happy. Hearing this, my mother-in-law was also reassured, and we returned home. But then another year passed, and a third, yet neither did we have children, nor did Furkan's behavior change. He would come home with the same silent face, eat dinner, and sleep as if he only came home to sleep. Neither understanding nor love had blossomed between us. I had immense love for my husband, but his demeanor was very dry. My mother had always taught me one thing: no matter what, you must build your home. That's why I never complained about him to my in-laws or my family. I just prayed to Allah constantly that somehow my lap would be filled. 4 years had passed like this. In these 4 years, I had completely molded myself in Furkan's ways. Furkan didn't like me getting wet in the rain, so for 4 years I only watched the rain from beyond the window. Furkan didn't like me laughing loudly, so even when I felt like laughing, I would suppress it on my lips. Furkan didn't like me going to the roof, so I wouldn't even go to the roof to take down clothes. Instead, Shireen would bring down my share of the clothes. In short, I had completely colored myself in my husband's hue from head to toe. Yet he was neither happy with my being nor with this relationship. I had spent these 4 years in great difficulty and pain, but perhaps no one else was aware of the state of my heart. Now he would often stay at the office on some pretext or another. If I or his family members asked, he would make an excuse about work. Even now he had stayed at the office using the rain as an excuse, and I, listening to my heart, had decided to bathe in the rain without thinking about what was going to happen next. I stayed drenched in the rain for 2 hours, and when I was completely exhausted, my brother-in-law came and made me stand up from there. It was cold winter rain, and he was angry, asking why I was getting drenched in such cold weather. I came to the room feeling embarrassed, and he followed me in. Then, making me sit on the bed, he said something that made the sky slip from over my head. I just kept staring at him, and then, to prove his point, he called my husband on his mobile phone and angrily said, "Furkan, are you still with that woman today? Aren't you coming home?" My brother-in-law's words utterly devastated me. Meanwhile, on the other end, Furkan was saying, "No, I'm not coming back. I married Syra because you people told me to, but I have absolutely no interest in her. You all know I love Nesha and I've married her. I have 2 children and I'm very happy in my home. I was forced to marry Syra because of mother and father, but I can't sustain this relationship anymore. I don't know why you people don't understand this, and she won't leave me alone either. I've tried being awful to her 1,000 times, but she still keeps clinging to me." Furkan sounded utterly disgusted with me, while my brother-in-law looked at me with sorrowful eyes. Then he reprimanded Furkan and hung up the phone. He grabbed my arm and said, "Why didn't you understand that your husband belongs to someone else? He has married another woman. He's happy in his own home. You worry about having children, but have you ever considered what you would do even if you had children? Because Furkan wouldn't be interested in you or your children then either." It was only today that I understood why my husband was not truly mine, and I was completely disoriented. He continued, "You want children, don't you? You want happiness, don't you? Then separate from my brother. I can't say this in front of everyone because mother and father aren't well, and Nisha isn't a good woman. That's why my parents arranged Furkan's marriage with you instead of her. but he is consumed by the ghost of love, so he can't see anything right now. It's better for you to return to your home and start your life afresh. My brother-in-law's words, while stripping me of my life, completely buried my lifeless relationship. Crying, I said, Shamshir, if that was the case, why didn't you tell me anything earlier? Why did you forcefully marry your brother to me and ruin my life too? I've changed myself from head to toe for your brother, but what did I get in return? I was crying bitterly. Shamshir joined his hands, apologizing to me, and said, Syra, I was helpless. My parents made me and Shireen promise not to tell you anything. But whenever I saw you playing with my children, or saw Furkan's terrible behavior towards you, my heart would ache. Many times I wanted to ask you if you were happy, but you always said you were happy with Furkan. You never complained about him. I admire your goodness, and I'm also sorry that I couldn't tell you anything for 4 years. But today, when I saw you living your life after a long time, getting drenched in the rain like a child, I realized that if I had a younger sister, she would be exactly like you. Would I have tolerated such injustice happening to her? And then I decided that today I would tell you everything. Now it's your choice whether you want to spend your whole life in this lifeless relationship or return to your own home. Shamshir had finished speaking and left, and I just sat on the bed like a statue. I had never even complained about Furkan to my parents. I always thought that one day I would achieve everything with my love. But a man who had married another, who had children with his second wife, why would he give me love? He didn't need me anymore. I immediately packed my few belongings. When morning came, the rain stopped, and Furkan returned home. I narrated everything in front of my in-laws, telling them how their son was happily married to another, and how I had been sacrificed for their decision. My in-laws were ashamed. They didn't know about Furkan's second marriage. When I told them, Furkan also admitted that he had married again, and at my insistence, he divorced me on the spot. Bearing the stigma of divorce, I returned home, and my parents were stunned. Then, when I told them everything, my mother started crying and said, Why didn't you tell me anything earlier? Crying, I told my mother, because you were the one who said, no matter what, save your home, maintain your marriage, and don't bring any troubles or complaints to us. I just kept trying, Mother. If you had said that if anything bad happened, to tell you, I would have definitely come to you. Mother hugged me and started crying. After 4 years of married life, when the divorce happened, people started slandering my character. No one wanted to know how much agony I had endured. I was a woman, and the stigma of divorce was attached to me. So in everyone's eyes, I was the one with bad character. I simply started living my life quietly. When my waiting period after divorce was complete, a proposal came for me, and that proposal was sent by my brother-in-law. It was from a friend of my brother-in-law who knew everything about me. His first wife had died very suddenly, which is why he hadn't remarried. He also had no children. My brother-in-law wanted me to marry him and move forward in my life. Shamshir had placed a hand on my head like a brother, which is why, at his insistence, I trusted that man and remarried. My second husband, Shanawaz, truly proved to be a very good person. Knowing my past, he not only accepted me, but also gave me the respect and love I deserved. Today, when I look back at my past, I wonder why I took so long to decide. Why I didn't realize earlier that the relationship I was in had no meaning. Today, I am expecting and will soon become a mother, fulfilling every void in my life. I also want to tell you all that you should never decide to spend your entire life with the wrong person. Life is short. Make your own decisions and learn to move forward in life.